Hello and welcome to the news on NTAi International. I am Chinenye Nwoye and my sign language interpreter is Segun Ajayi. First, let's bring you the headlines. President Bola Tinubu signs 2025 appropriation bill into law. Supreme Court voids Rivers State local government elections. A national strategic workshop on food security holds in Abuja, with federal government pledging more investment in agriculture. Many thanks for joining us. President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his commitment to securing Nigeria's future, rebuilding prosperity, and ensuring that every Nigerian shares in the dividends of good governance under his watch. The president spoke after signing the 2025 appropriation bill of 54.9 trillion naira into law at the State House this Friday. State House correspondent Musbal Danwahab reports on the budget of transformation.
From the executive, the 2025 appropriation bill of 49.7 trillion naira went to National Assembly on December 18, 2024. But then, the collaborative effort of both the executive and the legislature discovered the possibility of more revenue to further power the economy in other areas.
Any policy that you propose that can alleviate the suffering of Nigerians, be rest assured of the support of the National Assembly, both chambers. We will go with you. We are behind you. We will go with you because we know that you mean well for this country. Here now is the budget. You are about to make history. You gave it to us in December. People may think we delayed. No. We had to go through line by line, clause by clause, to ensure that we meet the aspiration, not just of your administration, but that of the entire nation.
More than 70 days later, the reloaded budget of 54.99 trillion naira is back to the sender. Apparently fulfilled with the effort of key players, the president says the budget, tagged Budget of Transformation, is set to empower Nigerians more and build a resilient future for the country.
The past year tested our resolve, but through the economic discipline and strategic reforms, we achieved what many deemed impossible. There are no dust in our faces, and there are no tears in our cheeks. We work together as brothers and sisters, collaborate with Nigerians. After the initial turbulence, and the takeoff was very, very crowded and uncertain. Today, we see a light at the end of the tunnel.
And from the dashboard of the president, the economy indices are looking up. From 6.2% in 2003, President Tinubu says the deficit has been reduced to 4.1%. Revenue increased to 21.6 trillion naira, while the national GDP has rebounded to 3.86%.
Reform is working the foreign exchange. The minimum wage was raised, and we are meeting all obligations. Thank you.
Now that the 2025 budget has become an act of parliament, the National Assembly has promised to do its bit of oversight and ensure that the budget is implemented to the letter for the benefit of all Nigerians. From the State House, Musbal Danwahab, NT News.
The President Bola Tinubu administration is making significant investments in the country's agricultural sector to ensure food security. This was announced by Vice President Kashim Shettima during the National Strategic Workshop on Food Security held in Abuja. Musa Baba Aliyu reports that the workshop was organized by the Nigerian Economic Summit Group.
Research indicates that Nigeria has the potential to produce not only sufficient food for its citizens, but also surplus for export to generate foreign exchange. Key stakeholders in the industry believe that creating an enabling environment for the private sector will set the agricultural sector on the right path.
We have enough valuable hands. We have the workforce. We have everything, all the natural requirements to make this agriculture the mainstay of our economy.
Vice President Kashim Shettima, in a message through the former Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, speaks on the different government interventions aimed at improving food security since taking office.
Agriculture is our golden egg. The opportunities within production, processing, and distribution are vast. And before we even consider export potential, our domestic market alone presents huge opportunities for return on investments.
If you look at how this administration has broken down agriculture, we're now specializing in each of the 3 subsectors. So crops, livestock, fisheries. So when you talk about yields, we're talking about those 3 subsectors.
Minister of Agriculture, in a message convened by the Executive Secretary of the National Agricultural Trust Fund, emphasized the government's substantial initiatives in mechanization and other innovation aimed at strengthening agricultural activities.
In the past year, we have taken critical steps to establish pathways for 1. Blended financing models. This is combining public and private capital to fund strategic agricultural initiatives, improving credit accessibility for agribusiness and farmers. 2. Agricultural guarantee mechanisms. Partnering with other financial institutions within the sector to structure guarantees that reduce the perceived risks of lending, making agriculture a more attractive sector for commercial banks and investors.
The country director of the World Food Programme in Nigeria, along with the local and international agricultural investors, pledged to offer further support and investment in the Nigerian agribusiness initiative. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTAi News.
President Bola Tinubu has implored new members of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, and other policymakers in Nigeria to take the lead in driving the nation's digital transformation and tech-driven economic growth. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who represented the president, gave the charge at the graduation ceremony of Senior Executive Course 46 of the Institute in Kuru, Plateau State. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
All the 96 of you, the membership of the National Institute.
This signifies the graduation of 96 members of the Senior Executive Course 46 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies that presented a report of its research titled Digital Economy, Youth Empowerment and Sustainable Job Creation in Nigeria, Issues, Challenges and Opportunities. And with the research report, the federal government promised that initiatives, including the expansion of broadband infrastructure, the development of digital entrepreneurship, and the implementation of the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, will help the country maximize the potential of its youth population.
Beyond the digital economy, we are implementing policies to enhance vocational and technical education, boost agriculture, and stimulate manufacturing through targeted support for small and medium-sized enterprises. Through initiatives like the Renewed Hope Skills Acquisition Program, we are equipping young Nigerians with practical skills in technology, construction, and the creative enterprises. In agriculture, the special agro-industrial processing zones are fostering value addition, while the presidential palliative program for MSMEs is providing grants and low-interest loans to small businesses. Our focus is on empowering young Nigerians with the skills and resources necessary to thrive in the modern job market. ensuring that economic growth translates into real opportunities for all.
Since its inception in 1979, NIPS has stood at the forefront of shaping policy and leadership in Nigeria. As the country's premier think tank, the Institute has continually gone through a legacy project to support the Institute. In this wise, I want to specifically thank and appreciate my colleagues for the foresight of our legacy project, the construction of an eye and dental clinic.
The class of 96 members had also developed 2 humanoid robots using locally sourced materials at the National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, owned by the National Information Technology Development Agency. The essence is to show the capacity and ability to drive developmental processes with homegrown technologies. From Jos, Abraman Jibrila, NTAi News.
As part of a grand plan to give hope to Almajiris and out-of-school children in the country, Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, has called for a reform of the Almajiri educational system, starting with proper registration of those who operate the schools. She made the call while granting audience to the Executive Secretary of the National Commission on Almajiri and Out-of-School Children, Dr. Muhammad Sani Idris, and his team in her office at the Villa. State House correspondent NTAi reports.
They are not beggars, but seekers of Quranic knowledge at a tender age. Yet, they are left out on the street, alone to fend for themselves, subject to abuse and manipulation. Their growing number, said to be about 30 million, is a national concern, which the National Commission on Almajiri and Out-of-School Children is seeking collaboration to address. This visit by the Commission, led by its Executive Secretary, Dr. Muhammad Sani Idris, to the office of Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, is not just for collaboration, but a strident cry for help to address the plight of the Almajiris in order to secure the nation. To achieve this, the First Lady emphasizes the need for proper registration of both the students and those who run the schools.
Even people who go to regular school, they are being abused if they fall into wrong hands. But how do we now start with all those imams that are housing these children? They have to be registered. And also put laws in place so that all these Almajiri schools are registered. So that's how we can know the number.
She says the alternative high school for girls and its increasing impact is a model that can inspire effective Almajiri education system.
You have to take one first and make sure that it's working. You put all the resources there, make sure it is working so it becomes a reference point. The imam can have his own house. So it can be like a co-principal in the new school for Quranic studies.
Added to the 18.5 million out-of-school children that places Nigeria second on global rankings, the challenge of Almajiri is one that requires urgent and thorough attention.
Boko Haram has also decided to linguistically manipulate Almajiri by giving them interpretations that are not in tandem with the correct teaching of the Quran. We are going to open a school in the next 3 or 4 days in Kaduna, where we will bring those memorizers of the Quran, give them the ability to understand Arabic so that they will develop linguistical immunity against any ideology that is foreign. We will also give them English so that they will be able to contribute to the development of the GDP of this country and the growth of the country. We are also going to expose them to rigorous skills acquisition so that at the end of that program, Your Excellency, they will have the cause to live a life that is worthy of living.
Away from our meeting, the First Lady kept her promise to the National Council for Women Societies in Nigeria with a donation of a 14-seater jet mover passenger bus to the council on behalf of NTAi.
When you came the last time, we thought that, we have to bless you this to start a new chapter of your life. And the other request, we are working on it, and God will help us.
On behalf of the council, the national president, Edna Azura, appreciated the First Lady for using NTAi to empower women in the country. In the State House, Adeni Taiwo, NTAi News.
This is the news on NTAi International. We'll take a break here. There will be more reports when we return. Do stay. Many thanks for staying on. ECOWAS validation meeting on the activation of logistics base for the regional standby force has ended in Abuja with optimism that the processes will be concluded soon to enable the force come into operation. Attended by governmental experts in the sub-region and military officers, the resolutions at the meeting will be presented in a document to a meeting of chiefs of defense staff in member states slated for March for ratification.
Issues about funding, because everything centers around money. So one of the resolutions is encouraging the Commission on options to raise funds, bringing in the private sector, encouraging member states to be able to support logistics that will be required for operations, member states contributing, private sector contributing, and harnessing our abilities, not waiting for other parties to come and support us, other nations. Of course, we'll still partner with them, but we must take ownership, we must take charge. Peace and security is first our responsibility. We must play our part before we expect others to support us. So that is one key resolution that we reached. Also want to leverage on technology in fight against counterterrorism, insurgency, and other threats we see, even climate change. You need technology to AI, artificial intelligence, drones, other forms of technology. We need to harness them as much as possible.
Ethiopia agrees to lease 20 kilometers of Somaliland seafront for 50 years in return for diplomatic recognition of Somaliland. And Egypt indicates readiness to organize a mission for the benefit of Moroccan exporters to the country with the aim of concluding partnerships that enhance Moroccan exports, especially in the automotive sector, which has witnessed a decline in the recent period. Chukunonso Nwabueze reports.
This was part of the agreement reached during a meeting of Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed with Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud in Mogadishu, as their nations move to mend relations strained by Ethiopia's DA4C access with Somaliland, a breakaway republic Somalia considers as part of its territory. Abiy flew into the Somali capital as Somali forces backed by African Union peacekeepers beefed up security at Mogadishu's Aden Ade International Airport and along the road leading to the presidential palace. However, Mogadishu's main roads were closed and vehicular traffic was restricted. Reports showed that Ethiopian flags were flying at the airport as the Somali National Music Band and traditional folklore dancers greeted Abiy at the airport. After the meeting at the Somali Presidential Palace, the two leaders issued a joint statement affirming their commitment to enhancing cooperation for mutual benefit. The statement said, and I quote, "This visit follows consecutive engagements over the past few months and reinforces the normalization of bilateral relations between the two nations. Ethiopia and Somalia are interdependent nations with common destiny and a shared vision for regional stability and prosperity." End of quote. The leaders also welcomed the start of technical talks in Turkey's capital aimed at resolving the standoff over the Ethiopian-Somaliland deal. In other news, trade exchanges between Morocco and Egypt was the focus of discussions between Moroccan Secretary of State to the Minister of Industry and Trade in charge of foreign trade, Omar Hejira, and the Egyptian Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade, Hassan al-Khatib. The meeting also focused on ways to strengthen trade relations between the two countries and inject new momentum into economic partnerships. In a press statement, Hejira explained that during the meeting, indicators of trade exchanges were reviewed with a focus on measures to reduce the trade deficit recorded in favor of Egypt. He stressed that priority will be given to other Moroccan products to enhance the volume of exports to the Egyptian market. On his part, Egyptian Minister of Investment and Foreign Trade, al-Khatib, highlighted the importance of the meeting in supporting trade exchanges between the two countries and achieving a balance in the trade, noting that a set of practical procedures and measures were agreed upon that would be subject to periodic follow-up by both parties. The Egyptian minister praised the historical relations between Morocco and Egypt under the leadership of King Mohammed VI and President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, stressing that bilateral relations are witnessing a new start. He also stressed that Moroccan products are not banned and that the Egyptian market is open to Moroccan exports. Chukunon Sonwabweze, NTAi News.
United States President Donald Trump has welcomed his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky to the White House. The meeting comes after a week-long diplomatic dance that has also seen the leaders of France and Britain come to the White House to persuade Trump not to abandon Kyiv. The leaders will discuss efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war and are expected to finalize an agreement on Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Experts say the minerals deal is an attempt by Kyiv to win the support of Washington amid Trump's efforts to jumpstart U.S.-Russia talks to end the war. The U.S. president's tariff threats also continue to roil countries around the world, with Canada, Mexico, and China bracing for levies next week. This is the third leader's visit to the White House this week. The Supreme Court has declared as invalid, illegal, null and void the local government election conducted in Rivers State on October 5, 2024 and won by the All People's Party, APP. The Apex Court held that the election was invalid because all conditions precedent bill to be implemented were petitioned by Rivers State Electoral Commission. Specifically, Justice Jamilu Tukur, who delivered the lead verdict, held that the council poll was conducted in gross violations of Section 150 of the Electoral Act 2022. A federal high court in Abuja on Monday, September 30th, 2024, stopped the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from releasing voters' register to the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission for the purpose of conducting the October 5th, 2024 local government elections in the state. The court had also barred the Inspector General of Police and the Department of the State Service from providing security. The suit was argued on behalf of the APC by a team of senior lawyers comprising Joseph Daudu, Sebastian and Ogu James Onoja, all ACNs. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has also ordered the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the Accountant General of the Federation to stop further release of funds to the Rivers State government with immediate effect. In a judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agim, the Apex Court directed that no funds should be released to Rivers State government until a lawful appropriation law is enacted under the 27 lawmakers led by the Speaker, Martin Amaule. The partnership between the National Directorate of Employment and Operation Safe Corridor has become a beacon of possibility, proving that when skills meet second chances, peace has a stronger chance to bloom. The Director General, National Directorate of Employment, Silas Agara, affirmed this while playing host to the coordinator of Operation Safe Corridor, Yusuf Ali, and his team. Olajide Bello reports.
Operation Safe Corridor is a unique initiative designed to de-radicalize, rehabilitate and reintegrate former fighters back into the society. 4 years, Operation Safe Corridor had focused on psychological counseling, religious re-education and community forgiveness. But the NTAi saw a gap. Many of the participants lacked practical skills to find work after leaving the camp, as without livelihoods, reintegration could fail.
We have the capacity, we have the manpower, we have the facilities that will enable smooth operation of those processes. And I want to assure you that not just because we are part of the, who will make our facilities open and available. And so far, more than 2,190 have been rehabilitated so far, and they are doing well in the various communities.
While military strategy is useful to weaken the military capacity of terrorists, non-military strategies are advanced to tackle the underlying problems fueling terrorism to achieve a long-term peaceful outcome. Olajide Bello, NTAi News.
I will now take a look at the weather prospect for Saturday in some Nigerian cities and some parts of the world. And this is where we end the news. We thank you so much for being a part of it. I am Chinenye Nwoye, and my sign language interpreter has been Shegun Ajayi. Bye for now.